Okay, so in today's tutorial, we're going to be moving on to how to create a companion. Now, if you have seen my previous videos, then it should be relatively straightforward. The only new thing we're going to do is the companion script, and it's nothing too complicated. So what we're going to do first is create a bunch of packages, then we're going to set the script for our pirate, and then we're going to add a couple factions to him, and then we're going to tie it all in with the dialogue. So they're the four sort of steps to creating a companion from an NPC. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the, let me think, where did we put him now? It was in one of the prims things, but what I'm going to do is type in YouTube, and we're going to, oh no, that's not what we want. Right click, use info, there he is. Okay, so he's in the Bison Steve. Okay, so now that we've found him, that's great. So now I'm just going to type in pirate, so I could spell, there we go. And okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is create the 5 packages. Now the first package is a wait package, where if you tell them to wait, they'll wait. So let's double click on one of these here that I have, and I'm going to call this pirate companion wait here. I'm going to change it from follow to guard. Now the guard package, basically you select the reference. So with the guard package, first of all, just select your guy. Actually, I think there's a sprite in the way there, so I'm just press 1 to hide it. Right, let's try again. There we go. Okay. Now, when he is instructed to wait, he'll patrol a radius of 125. It's a relatively small one, so I'm going to set it to 500. No, maybe 400. And the guard location, just set it to something like 100. So they'll basically patrol somewhere around the 400 unit range, and they'll sort of mainly stay in the 100. Okay. While on attack behavior, so if they see any enemies, they will attack them, and that will sort of, I think when you sneak, that also, you know, bring up the caution for you, I think. I always leave it checked, just for good measure. Now you've got 2 options here: remain near guard location or remain near reference to guard. So keep it to this one. If you tell them to wait, they'll wait there. If you select that, then as soon as you tell them to wait, they'll go to a specified location. For a companion, you don't want that. Unless if you had like a bodyguard and you said, hey, go guard my house, then they'll walk to your house and guard it. That's why you'd want to use the other one. But for now, just leave it where it is. And that's our first package. And we're going to click yes. All right, so we're going to double click this. Now the next package is home. So if you tell them to leave, this is where they'll go. So we're going to type in pirate companion, just put home. So if you say, for instance, you've got, let's just say you created a, I don't know, a mercenary, you just put mercenary companion, then in capitals home. So just easier just to find things afterwards. And we're going to go to sandbox, and we haven't really specified his home yet because we've not given them a marker. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in at the top X marker. Alright, and you'll be using these a lot. As you can see in the base game, there are 1,422. So we're just going to drag one of these in. I'm going to put that on the floor somewhere. Let's have a look. Okay, so that's now on the floor. What you want to do is double click this and give it a name. Let's just call this pirate home ref. And I'm just going to copy that, and I'm just going to type in pirate again up here just to find my wait here. Ah, that was right. Yeah, we didn't actually save it, did we? So pirate companion home, and then this is going to be a sandbox, isn't it? And we want to put yeah, reference. Oh, select reference, and there we go. Okay. So what this will do is basically he will sandbox around this area. Let's just put it to 500, so that's more or less most of the kitchen. Just going to uncheck always run. And okay, and yes. Now for the home lucky 38, pretty much just double click the home and then just put at the end L38 and click on this, and we want to go to I think it's lucky 38 penthouse suite. I believe it's the suite, and just pick anyone. I think the audio marker will do, and probably sets to 1000 just so he goes around the whole area, and hit OK. Yes. Now the last two are the follow packages, so I'm going to open up the pirate follow player just because it's preset, and I'm going to go to pirate and rename it accordingly. Companion ref. Sorry, not ref. Excuse me. Follow. And there are two types of follow. So we've got follow default and follow long. Now follow long basically there'll be a further distance. Follow default, unless it's 250. It's a reasonable sort of spacing between them. Hit yes, and finally follow long. And then I'm going to set this to probably 750, so 3 times the distance, and hit OK. Yes. Now, in case you don't actually have the follow package, simply just go to package type follow, go to specific reference, and reference just selects player. It doesn't matter what cell you select, it will always work, and then just simply the distance. So just in case you hadn't seen my previous or you weren't following those ones. So that's it for the packages, more or less. We will come back to them shortly and make a couple changes here and there to the conditions. But we can now move on to the script. So let's open up our pirate, and we're going to go to script and then click on the 3 dots. Now this is the script window, so this is a new thing for most of you. So we did some basic scripting on the last episode with the add script package, remove script package. This will be a brand new script, so go to script, new, and once it's turned white, that means that we now have something to work with. So the very first thing you have to do is type in SCN, which is an abbreviation for script name, then press space, and now name whatever you want to call the script. It doesn't have to be anything specific, there's no rules for this, it's just a name. So I'm going to call this one YouTube Pirate NPC Script. Alright. Now, the way how this works with scripts in this GECK is, number 1, you've got the script name. Number 2, you have the variables. Number 3, you have the function. So basically what will happen. And then number 4, you have just end. That's when it ends. Now you don't need to type 1, 2, 3, and 4. I was only doing this out of explanation, so just delete all that. In fact, I'll keep it there just so you understand. Now if you're brand new to scripting and you don't know what variables means, variables are just anything that holds a type of data. So a integer holds a whole number, a short holds say for instance decimals to a degree. Then we have string, which holds text and stuff like that. So don't worry too much about, don't overthink the whole variable thing at the moment. So we've already got the script name, so that's out of the way. And now we're going to move on to the variables. So variables, the ones that you will need are has been hired. So is this player hired or not? So will they follow the player or not? The lucky 38, so basically will they be allowed into the lucky 38 because has the player unlocked it or not? And then we have do once. Now again, this is quite complicated when you haven't seen it if you're brand new to it, so I'm going to stop talking now and get started. So the way how we structure these are, we type in short, so basically a number, and has been hired. Now what this means is we are now creating a variable called has been hired, and it is a short. So between this, just simply put 1 space, and then you just create a new line. And now we type short L38, all right? And then lastly, short do once. Now we're going to create some integers, so type in int, this is an abbreviation for integer, whole number, CombatStyleRanged, so basically will they be using ranged or not, and then int CombatStyleMelee, so will they be using melee or not. Int is following default, and int what was the next one? Aggression. And lastly, int waiting. Okay, so if you just want to make a companion, you're not too interested in learning how it works, these are the basic ones that you need. So basically, if this is true, sorry, even if this is a certain value, I should say, then basically the character will follow you. If this is true, then they will be able to go to the lucky 38. Do once, this is basically the very first script that basically will set all of these to 0, apart from obviously do once, which will be set to 1, simply because we don't want this script to keep running. And there we go, that's our variables out the way. These are just the variables you need for a follower, so really you don't need any more. You can get away without the lucky 38 one, but I wouldn't advise it. So now we can begin the script. So now that we've declared, or basically stated, what variables there will be in this script, we can now begin the script. So that's just how we order it when it comes to programming. First we have to tell the script basically what integers, what shorts, what strings, all that sort of stuff will be in the script before we put them in. So to basically begin the script, we want to type in begin space on begin game mode. So basically as soon as the game starts, this script will be active, and just put end. All right, so that's basically the script. Now anything we put between this will run in the game. So the very first thing we want to do is set all of these to 0 so that they're ready to be used. So what I'm going to do is, for that, I'm going to go if brackets do once is not equal to 1, which it won't be because by default these are all null. We want to set has been hired to 0. And again, we're going to be doing this for all of them, so what I'd advise here is copying them, pasting them, and then just deleting all these bits here. It's a lot faster this way. I'm going to get rid of do once, simply because that one will be doing at the end. And now we're going to put set behind all of these. I know it's really inconvenient, I know. Again, if I'm going too fast for you, just pause the video and then you can obviously type them in yourself. I'm going to set them all to 0. Oops. And lastly, we're going to set do once to 1. And then end if. Always put end if as soon as you want this if statement to end. So there we go, they've all been set to 0. That is pretty much it when it comes to the scripts. You know, not really going to be touching this anymore. The very next thing we're going to start doing is we're going to add the factions real quick. Okay, one important thing I actually did forget to mention is when we clicked on the 3 dots, while the script is now made, we need to add it to him. So simply go back to the NPC window for the YouTube NPC character. I'm going to type in pirate, I think we called it. YouTube pirate, that was it. There we go. I'm just going to click on that, and now the script is now attached to him. One little thing I did forget, set one of these to 1. I'd advise the ranged, because that's ranged weapons, and usually they have a ranged equipped. Hit save and close. Okay, now we won't be touching that script anymore. So now we can start adding factions and other things to him. So first things first, add the player faction. Right click and new. And then the second one you want, so they don't get shot when they go into the strip, is the Don't Tase Me Bro faction. Now what this will do is every time they go near those Securitrons at the entrance of the strip, they won't get shot. Very important thing to add, otherwise when you go towards the strip gates, you will get shot at, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we can start working, adding the AI packages, so I'm just going to delete this one since it's not needed. And we're going to select these here, all 5 of them, drag them across, drop them in, and there we go. So we're now much further on. Now we've just got to start setting up the conditions for these. So I'm going to go over to conditions and click new. I want to do get script variable, and what this will do is it'll check to see if the script is in a certain state. So that script we just made, those integers that we wrote down, will now be checking to see if these are a 1 or a 0. So we're going to click on target, selecting reference window. I know it's a long way to get to it. I think there is that, I just can't seem to select him for some reason. Okay, so I just managed to fix the problem I was having. I had to press OK on all the windows because the GECK sometimes is a bit slow to realize that you've made changes. So if you press OK on all the boxes, just hit save and then reopen things, you'll be able to have this drop down. So sorry about that, happens sometimes. Okay, so carrying on, we've got the follow along package. So what we want to do is select the x.FollowerDefault, and we want to set this to 0. So basically, as we set it up in the variables, default is close, long is long. So are they following close? No, they're not. So if this condition is met, it will work. So that's the first one. Now I have the default, so we're going to go to conditions, but actually what I'm going to do first is, if I open this, the first one we just edited, I'm going to copy this just to speed things up, go into the long and go to conditions and paste that in. Alright, however this time instead of 0 it's going to be 1 because we are following close, and hit OK. Okay, onto the sandbox one. So this is where they get sent to the lucky 38. Conditions, new. Oh, actually no, we're going to paste this in, and this time we're going to open this up and go to L38, and then we're going to type in 1, and we're actually going to copy this again, duplicate it I think, and the second condition we want to put it to has been hired. I think we want to set to a 0, so they are now fired basically. I think that's it for that one. We're going to go to here, Pirate Companion Home, and we're going to go to conditions. Going to paste both, paste it twice, and we want L38 0, which it will be by default, and has been hired 0. Okay, so basically if they've not been told to go to the lucky 38, which by default they won't, and if they're not hired, which they're not by default, they'll basically patrol this kitchen, for instance, at least in my case. Then we've got the guard, wait here, conditions, new. Oh, actually no, we can just paste it in, I keep forgetting, excuse me. We want waiting set to 1, and we want has been hired set to 1. Okay, pretty straightforward. Hit OK, and that is it for the factions and AI packages. These are all set up now. Now the very last task that we have to do is set up the dialogue, and every time we click on one of these dialogue options, it will trigger different trigger the scripts variables that we set up in here. For that, it's not too hard. It's mainly just dialogue. The only really tricky part is when we are in the dialogue. So if I go to YouTube real quick, when we're in these topics here, we're going to add a bunch of topics, and then over here in the begin script, we're going to basically trigger different events when we click on different things. So if we say, please follow me closer, it will then update the script that we made, so then that way the character will follow you closer. So I'm always going to do that in this tutorial. I'm just going to do a quick jump cut just to refresh my memory on it all, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so these here are the different topics that we'll need to add to our pirates sort of conversation. Basically, we will need all the the fired, the hired, the tactics, the distance, the combat, everything like that. Now, there are a few others in the followers section when you get to add a topic. I'm not going to be focusing on those. I'm just going to be showing you how to basically create the main sort of companion, so the bare bones. Then if you want to add things to it, then you can do. So basically when you get the companion wheel, all the different buttons will work. These are all the ones that you need. Don't worry about writing it down because I've got them here and we're just going to go through it ourselves. So you can want to right click. I do have my Parliament quest here just as a little backup, just so I remember them off the top of my head. So, however, in your quest here, you just want to go to add topic, and I'll show you which ones to add now. So just type in follower. I'll take you down here. First one you are going to need is fired. This one here. Okay. And then by holding Control, just select fired no, fired yes, fired suite, and you want to scroll down to hired, and then you want to scroll down to let's go. That's the next one. Then it's down to tactics, tactics combat, aggressive, end, goodbye, melee. I think pretty much all of these here. Keep going until you get to long. Then yeah, select end, and then followers trade, and lastly followers wait. So that's all the ones you need there, selected in blue. You can pause the video. Just remember it's Control to select them, then just select them all. So it's like 20 something, somewhere around there. Just short of 20, somewhere around there anyway, and just hit OK. Okay, so now I have all these here. These are sort of the default, so I would strongly advise adding these in since A, they're already there, and B, I think this is the only way to get it to work. Okay, so I'm just going to set up a dialogue for this real quick. So as you can see here, I'm just going to fast forward it a little bit. I'm just going to put in all the text. One thing that is very important is what is coming up in a second. This is just the default text that'll be up here, topic text. However, if you want to create something more custom, just simply put it in here. So just kidding, stick with me pal, for instance, and you get the idea. So I'm gonna do a quick jump cut here since it's very boring to see it go through. You can set everything up yourself. Okay, so I've just filled all these in with just generic pirate stuff. The next thing you want to do is copy your the condition, so the getIsID condition, and paste it into all of these. I'll be doing that as I go along. Now some of these will be top level, some of them won't. I think it does it by default. Yeah, it definitely does. So yeah, we're definitely a step ahead there. However, we do need to link up these fired ones to obviously it's sort of the sub level ones. So what I'm going to do is, I'll just double check something here. Okay, so it's a choice. All right, great. Just to be sure, I'm just going to add my choices here. I'm going to type in for the followers fired one at least. Scroll down here to no, yes, and yes suite, and hit OK. And then those ones will be ready to go there. And I'm going to paste that in. For no, you can leave this alone since it's just sort of like a return. And you want to paste this in here and hit goodbye. And you want to press goodbye and paste that in. Hired, this hires them. We'll come to the script soon. And let's go. I'm going to paste it in and hit goodbye. Follower tactics. Let's add the combat and distance topics. So I'm going to go to follower tactics. Should be down here. Combat and distance, just these two. Hit OK. Now we've got those set up there. I'm going to paste this in here. Combat. I want to change your combat style. I think we'll just paste that in there for now. And then we have, let's see, yeah, just paste these in. I don't think these ones are too important at the moment. And just paste that in there. Goodbye, so it's pretty much the same, except this time we check the goodbye. Melee, I'm going to paste it in. Passive, paste it in. Ranged, paste that in. Distance, paste it in. Close, paste it in. Again, we will be setting up the scripts, do not worry about it. I'm just going down them one by one. This time it is a end, so just leave it again. We'll come back to a lot of these and hit goodbye. And distance long, paste it in, end, and paste it in. Okay. Trade, sorry, I missed these ones. Paste it in. It becomes a really tedious task, but that's the last one there. For the followers wait, I always like to tick goodbye, so once we tell them to wait, it exits. Actually, is that a good idea? Because I was thinking of the wheel just then. Yeah, it is. Okay. And even the trade, yeah, you want to set to goodbye as well. Alright. Now that we've got that set up, we're going to go back to some of these. Combat aggressive, I believe we need... No, we don't. Okay. Not a problem then. That's pretty much it. Now we can move on to the scripts. So the very first thing we're going to do is, I think, fired no. All right. So I've got I've set this in. I've put all the text that you need to enter in the description. Don't worry about it. But this stuff. Oh, sorry. We need to start fired. Yes. Sorry. Yeah, up here. I'll put all the stuff in the description. And what I'll do is where it says Joshua Companion Ref, I'll just replace it with an X. That way it's much easier. So what I'll do is I'll put FollowersFiredYes and then a colon, new line, and then I'll put all this here, and anywhere it says, you know, Joshua Companion Ref, I'll just replace it with what needs to be shown. I'll also remove some of these lines because some of them were related to perks, and we'll do that in another episode. So I'm going to copy all this across and go to FollowersYes, edit. If this window's too small, I always click edit, it just helps. I'm going to now replace this with pirate YouTube, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm just going to replace anytime it says Joshua Companion. We can now hit OK, and that should compile just fine. Alright, we're good. So I'm just going to copy all this real quick and hit OK, go to the SSuite and paste it in, except this time I want to change the L38 to 1, so he will go to the lucky 38. Press OK, and want to go to FollowerHired, and let's have a look now. So I'm going to edit this, paste it in, and has been hired 1. Everything's okay, so that's pretty much everything then. We are ready to go. So if we go in game, we'll be able to talk to him with the character wheel now appear, hopefully. I'm going to test that in game, just have a look and show you what it show you what it should look like. Okay, so as you could see, we could talk to him and obviously hire him, but you might have noticed that we could actually say to him a lot of commands before we had actually hired him, which is not what we want. So a very, very easy way to sort that out is we're going to add a few conditions to the dialogue so that these things will not appear until he is hired. So simply, let's start with the fired. That one should not be there, so go to new. And then get script variable. The target will be our pirate, or in your case probably your NPC or companion that you're working on. You want to put has been hired is 1, so basically this will only show if he has been hired. I'm going to copy this. Don't worry about the ones that aren't top level, you don't need to put it in these because these can only be triggered if this has been triggered. So I'm going to put the let's go, I'm going to paste that in. And actually what we're going to do for hired is we're going to paste this in, and it will only appear if he is not already hired. So that's the little trick we've got there. Tactics, again, this is top level, paste it in. We'll want to go to all the way down to trade. You can leave this if you want, but I'm just going to advise you put it in, simply because you don't want to trade with someone unless they're hired with you. And wait, again, paste this in. You're not going to tell someone to wait if, you know. Alright, so let's save that and let's jump into the GECK. Okay, so here he is.
Hey!
Howdy, I'm the violin. And now we have the, I think we should travel together. And he is now one of your companions. So when you click that, I think we should travel together, you can have the goodbye marker, so that way it just exits and you won't have this menu pop up. But that's one thing I actually forgot to do, but it's not a very important thing. That's pretty much it. So now he should be following us. Let's have a quick look. Just hurt himself on the bucket. Okay. Now we can talk to him, and we've got the companion wheel. We can tell him to switch if we want. Open up his inventory. We can tell him to keep a distance. We can tell him to back up. We can talk to him. That's Howdy and the violin bring this up. And we can tell him to wait here, or follow us. We can use stim pack. We can tell him to be passive or aggressive. And that is. Okay, so I hope your companion's working now. If not, just leave a comment. I might be able to help you out here and there. If you thought it was a good video, leave a like. If you thought it was a bad video, leave a dislike. So that should be all.